Friends and enemies, welcome back to the Canadian Bitcoiners podcast this week. Well, I mean, there's a million things going on. What am I really going to say here? We got the Canadian same-day MAID offering. So now you can get phone cases on Amazon or assisted suicide same-day delivery in both cases. Obviously, there's a war going on overseas. Oil spiked to 120 overnight and then now back down in red for the day in the 80s, I believe. So we'll talk about that a little bit. And then, of course, Kraken, the first ever exchange to get a Federal Reserve master account. Who could have seen it coming? All that and more coming up this week on CBP.
And so, the government can say whatever they want about this thing not competing. It's for black market only. It's for this, for that. But they're really treating it like a threat. And one of the things that can't be attacked is your self-custody Bitcoin. And one of the things that can be attacked is the ETF. You can't be exposed to that. That's my view. It's not a good idea. And by the way, that'll hit MSTR too. It'll probably hit other stuff as well.
Friends and enemies, welcome back. Canadian Bitcoiners podcast.
Friends and enemies, welcome to the CBP. Want to be better informed? Listen to Len and Joey. Sponsors taken care of right off the top. Bull Bitcoin and easy DNS. The media is feeding the slop.
Well, what do you have to say for yourself on this beautiful Monday night in Ontario? Man, I can't believe how nice it was today. I wore shorts this morning, first thing. And did some sprint training in the cemetery not far from my house. And I got to tell you, it just looked like the sun coming up there, get the vitamin D, get the sweat, get your heart rate up. Felt like summertime, man. Felt like summertime.
Yeah, it was nice. I didn't get to notice that till I got to the car in the afternoon. I was like, holy shit, it's fucking warm.
Yeah.
So, but anyways, yeah, another day, another dollar. And yeah, it's going to be good. One day I'll get to be having fun in the sun. That's not
Len's the most level-headed guy out there. Let's do some sponsors off the top here. EasyDNS, the title sponsor, the flagship sponsor. Mark is your friendly neighborhood registrar. So if you want to do anything related to DNS, that's like hosting a website, porting a website. If you want to buy a domain, Mark's got your back there. Tons of options in terms of backend. You can do stuff with WordPress and other. There's tons of suite options in terms of like the apps available to you if you want to do something over on EasyDNS. We use it for CanadianBitcoiners.com, that we are criminally undersharing on that website. But on Access of Easy, where Len and I do another show, you can see exactly what you can grab there in terms of offering. It's like audio backend, embedding video, all that good stuff. Not the only thing going on over there, though. You can also do some virtual private server stuff, which I think we may end up talking more and more about as time goes on. Unfortunately for us, there's so many things going on in the privacy world here in the what apps are allowed world. So if you want to do Bitcoin nodes, Nostr relays, any of that stuff, and maybe increase maybe make yourself a little more decentralized, Mark is the guy for that. And then of course, if you have like a newsletter or a business, you can pay a couple bucks for easy mail and domain share. Make sure that your mailing list is safe, your product stuff is safe, your website is safe. And it's all basically white glove. Mark does a great job helping you through the process and making sure that you're happy at all times. Plus takes Bitcoin if you want to pay in Bitcoin. We love that. EasyDNS.com. The promo code is CBP Media. You get 50% off your first round of buys, which is sick. Not many places you can do that. Len, who's the other sponsor?
Bull Bitcoin. Right, we have some good price action going on with Bitcoin, going up, going down, going sideways. You could buy, you could sell, you could look at the price if you want and just do nothing. But those people, why not just jump on board? Get some Bitcoin. And with Bull Bitcoin, they don't hold on to your Bitcoin. In order to do the purchase, they're a non-custodial exchange. You got to provide an address. This is what you want in an exchange. You hear so many stories over the years of exchanges going tits up, and they take the Bitcoin that is on there with them. Well, Bitcoin doesn't have that because, like I said, in order to facilitate the buy, you got to provide the Bitcoin address. So you have to take custody of your own Bitcoin. This is the proper way to do things. And when fees are going up, which they will one day, they're not today though, is that you could start using something like Lightning. It's available. You could do your buys. You could do your sells. You could do limit orders. You could do all kinds of things over there. You could pay bills with your Bitcoin. Would you want to do that right now? Maybe.
I haven't yet, but in the future, you never know. You want that optionality. Might be able to get that through them.
Yeah. The fact that they offer it and other things you could do over there. You got to send some scratch to your friend. Well, you could have it done in such a way that you're sending Bitcoin to Bull Bitcoin and they will send Canadian dollars to your buddy e-transfer. So a lot of different options over there. If you haven't yet opened an account, what are you waiting for? Our link to open the account is below. And if you do that, all your buys and sells forever are going to be cheaper. So check it out. Do it. They're the best.
We love it. We love it. Housekeeping. We had Scott Horton last week. Great interview. He's in the middle of a move. So he was kind enough to give 35 minutes in a room that he was settling into actually at his new home, which was fantastic. We had a lot of stuff to talk about, obviously, with the stuff going on in Iran and overseas. And, Len, he had a lot to say about the influence that Netanyahu has on a war like this, the people around Trump, Trump's ego. And then we talked about the spiritual cost of empire over in the United States. What has it really given them and what have they paid in terms of the soul of the Republic? It was really good. I enjoyed talking to him, and we'll have him on again for sure. This Thursday, I'm going to talk to Francis. He's no introduction. We'll not stream that, but we'll put it up probably sometime next week once the Wonder Kid gets his hands on the video and does the hook and all that good stuff for us. So look for that in the week or so to come.
So for the boosts, it's becoming problematic for me to get them. So I'm going to try.
Found any good anymore? Can we talk briefly about this? Someone else told me today that they are moving away from Fountain on like a sort of personal level, and we've had some good interactions with Fountain, some bad ones, and the boosts are now giving you a hard time. This is like the third week.
Second week. It's problematic, but it is what it is. I mean, I'm not going to steer away from Fountain because that's my go-to app when listening to podcasts. I don't listen to many these days, but if I do, they're the ones I'm going to be listening to. Either way, Wartime 333 sats, and it's a salute with a couple of beer mugs like that.
Thanks, bro.
Mo BTC Dick 500 sats. Any opinions on what the futures hold now that Kraken has a Fed account? I guess we'll talk about that momentarily. Yeah. This sounds to a pleb like myself like a huge turn in institutional Bitcoin, but I don't know how it's meaningful long term. Stay tuned. We'll talk about that.
Yeah,
just a few little bits. Yeah. So, Business Cat 1337 sats. Joey and Len, when keeping it real goes right. I like that.
How he opens Rock Paper Bitcoin? I shouldn't say every week, but some weeks. He's talking about their show the same way we do, like reviews what we're going to talk about. I think they do it in post, and he calls himself Business Cat, your best friend on the internet. Good tagline. I like that. Sometimes it's your very best friend. I think in the week it just passed, he said your very best friend, and then pulled it back a little bit, tempered the expectation. So, but all the same, I like that tagline. I thought Friends and Enemies was good. It's, we've been doing it for 5+ years now, so I am tempted to get away from it, but truly it is part of the brand, so maybe not.
Dan, I missed this one. Dan, 513 sats. Appreciate the sats, Dan. I love the Singapore dollar as well. We need to flee our nation before our house prices go higher than ever, but worthless. Len, aka the legend, called it right. I don't know when to sell, man. It's going to be I fear that I'm going to miss the boat.
Isn't the answer that you have to be prepared to leave without selling? I think that's where I am right now. You have to be prepared to leave without selling. Yeah.
But in a perfect world, you'd liquidate it and somehow get access to that.
Sure.
And I'm just looking more of a perfect scenario. But last but not least, we have JR 2000 sats. And he says, with the Scott Horton interview, fantastic guests, fantastic conversations.
Appreciate it. One other thing I want to know oh, okay. I thought you were done there. Yeah, thanks, Jared. I appreciate you, bro. One other thing, friend of the show and semi-regular co-host / guest Boomer was on Rocky Ridge Radio, Business Cat's other podcast, and they talked about a bunch of stuff. I mean, if you like just hearing two guys chop it up, especially if you listen to this show, like you're familiar with both those guys, it's pretty good. I like it. The more I listen to non like Bitcoin macro podcasts and more like sort of parasocial relationship podcasts, the more I enjoy them, I think. And it's even more fun when you know both guys. So like that's what makes our show good, by the way, is that, you and I are friends in real life. So it's not just like we got to talk about macro this week, macro. We got to talk about Bitcoin. It's like, it's just shit we would say over lunch, except we put a couple of mics and a few sponsors on it and turns into a little bit of a gig. Yeah.
It's a lot of fun to do it and to discuss the shit that's going on in the world, but also what's going on in Bitcoin.
Yeah.
It's
everything's got a Bitcoin lens now. Don't you feel like that? I mean, it's been like that a while. You could always kind of spin it, but in the early days of the show, we were doing a lot of red yarn on the idea board to connect to Bitcoin, but now, not much red yarn. People are talking about Bitcoin, thinking about Bitcoin. It's a good time to be a Bitcoiner.
Yeah, well, to be honest, I almost view everything 100% towards with respect to the Bitcoin lens. There's nothing I look at and say, "Oh, in the fiat world, it's like, hey, I want to get involved with this." It's like, why get involved with this? Doesn't make sense. And there's, we'll talk about a few of those stories today. Why it makes sense just to lessen your exposure to fiat world. And I say this as a hypocrite because I own a house, right? But you know what? It's half mine, and the wife, she wants to continue living here. That's fine. And
damn it, these women keeping us in our.
You got to live somewhere, and I've said this many times with Bitcoin. You can't live in your Bitcoin, but you can always rent. There's always an opportunity to do something. Yeah. But raising a family in a rental environment could be a little more of a challenge compared to owning your home. But it's all a matter of perspective. Kraken, let's talk about those goons.
Sure, let's do it.
They're boldly going where no shitcoin exchange has gone before.
You're framing it the same way as a lot of people, with like you lead with shitcoin exchange.
Well, they not just sell Bitcoin, but they have hundreds of tokens and stuff on there. So they're not totally pointing to this is Bitcoin. This is the only thing we sell, the only thing we offer. I get the product, what they're trying to do. They're trying to maximize revenue and trying to maximize profit. Yeah. And by getting into shitcoins, it gives an opportunity to do that. But fuck that. That's like, it's a dead end street, if you ask me. But I don't think that they're looking these days and saying, fuck, we screwed up, because they got the access to the Federal Reserve Master account. The fact that they got this, a skinny account, is nonetheless
it's unheard of
for an exchange. 1 year term though.
Okay, so the only thing I will note is that there's two Kraken entities here, right?
You talking about the Wyoming?
Yes. So the Wyoming one is the one that has the license, not the quote unquote exchange. But obviously some news coming out today about what the exchange is going to be able to do in terms of 24/7 trading. I think these stories are related, right? I'm pretty sure this is all
amazed at that.
Yeah.
Because by doing something like this, it's basically giving up a lot of power that the New York Stock Exchange and the NASDAQ has. And by letting somebody else tokenize an ETF or a stock and then using that and trading it 24/7, it's easier to keep things within. I'm not trying to justify what they're doing, but if you want to maintain certain level of control, you could do it as long as they control all the rules and all the games that they want to play in it. Once you have somebody else do it, I don't know. It's interesting to see what happens here. I mean, tokenizing it now. Before they were able to still get access to the master accounts. They were able to rent their way in or beg and borrow their way in. There was ways that they could do so. But now, by having this, it allows their Wyoming affiliates to do what they have to do, and exchanging money, have it without a middleman, right? And the Fedwire, nobody can fucking get access to this.
How much do you think they're going to need it? Is the question.
The fact that they've offered it, that's an interesting, because how much are they going to be able to transact? They're not going to be doing trillions of dollars, not even billions in this 1 year. But the fact that they got it, I'm wondering if Coinbase is looking and say, we fucked up. We should, instead of building out stuff like Base and crap like that, these guys are doing something that's going to potentially positively impact their business and also get them in good standing with the banks, which are probably fucking pissed off that this is being allowed, right? If they're going to be offering up the tokenized stocks and ETFs, the big banks and traditional brokerage houses, how could they say this is good news? These guys are going to come in and piss on their lawn and run away.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Right?
But natural tension starting to take shape here in the financial world, especially in the United States. Yeah, between stables and banks, now 24/7 tokenized. Yeah, it's
they're playing a long game, and it seems like they're
who's playing the long game?
Kraken is.
Kraken, okay.
Yeah, it seems like, well, to do this, they lobbied the right people, they wine and dine the right individuals, they presented the right PDFs and slideshows to show that, yeah, we got to get access to this. And with enough time and effort, they were able to get in. They cracked the system. They hacked their way in.
I think
good for them for 1 year term.
Easier. It's even easier than that, don't you think? It's funny. Custodia you know Custodia, right?
They were dealing with them previously.
You say previously. Do you know they both applied for this in the same month? Custodia was denied because their submission was reviewed earlier, and so the sort of political calendar was in a place where you just happen to have a Democrat in office at a time when Choke Point was going on, at a time when Silvergate was going on. And so it was easier to deny the bank that access on the basis of, well, this stuff is risky and we're going to shut it the fuck down. That turned out to be the wrong interpretation, of the asset and of the asset class. Because you have to include crypto in this, whether I like it or not. Like you mentioned, Kraken does operate in that realm. The interesting thing too is that, as you mentioned, there's a 1-year term, and it's what's called like a skinny Fed account. So no access to overnight loans, no access to interest, no access to a bunch of other stuff.
Could you imagine they got access to that interest? And
how long? I mean, at the end of 1 year, what are they going to do? Re-up? Are they going to extend? What's the plan? And the other thing too is that how many other exchanges are going to apply for this exact same license?
Coinbase is looking at.
They're all going to do it. They're all going to do it. Yeah.
But could you imagine they were able to get access to the central bank, the Federal Reserve's interest-bearing account?
And here's the question. Well, there's two things, right? The interest on reserves is one thing, but the access to the overnight window is another one. The overnight window is an interesting one that I think people are not talking about. Okay, not to.
Well, I was thinking
like clickbaiter, but
just want to point out if they had some sort of DeFi token, and I'm not justifying this. I'm not trying to say this is, but they could have done so and then offer up interest, and the interest, it is rock solid because it's not coming from some printed entity from some.
It's coming from the Fed,
Federal Reserve, which is still a printed entity. But at least it's something we could backed by guns.
More legitimate for sure.
Yeah. Sorry.
Do you know what's interesting though, Len? The overnight loan thing is really the reason you get that is for emergencies, right? And if you think about what are the requirements to need an overnight loan? Generally, it's because you need liquidity to prevent a broader shock to the system, right? Coinbase and Kraken and these guys, they don't meet that size requirement now. But could they meet it in 3 years? Do they meet it at $500,000 Bitcoin? Do they meet it at, $1 trillion under management? What is the number where they meet that requirement? You remember that Silvergate was not that big a bank. Obviously some other stuff going on in terms of pressures from the government there that caused Silvergate to go sideways. But the interesting thing is that if you look at assets under management, Coinbase and Kraken might wind up in that emergency lending window, not because the Federal Reserve is suddenly progressive in their licensing, but rather because they have no choice. They have to protect those guys in the event of a liquidation problem, or a liquidity problem, I should say. I mean,
it all depends on the business model. To be perfectly honest, I can't wrap my head in entirety what they do. They deal with so much bullshit that's fiat and shitcoinery. That I don't really want to know what's going on. But without that knowledge, it's hard for me to truly answer that question. But it gives them the ability to do it, but to get access to the liquidity that's needed right away. But if they need it right away, is their business model solvent? Is it something that is sound? If they have to always go to the right, like we talk about, if banks need to do this, like we laugh at all the time at the fact that they have the fractional reserve that doesn't even fucking exist anymore. Like you put the money in, it's already gone. It's no longer yours. Like, does that say it's a good business model? Hell no.
20 banks in the States have failed since 2019.
That's a low number.
20 banks.
That's very low number.
I also don't know how they're describing failed. Like, does that mean the door's shut? I'd have to look at like assets under management bank to bank, but it's a difficult set of stats to pull.
There's a website that's being maintained by
the Federal Reserve maintains one.
That's the one I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And you can see the name, why it failed, when it happened.
That's right.
And we've gone through.
The problem is that's not a legitimate. The problem is it's not a legitimate, because the Silvergate rationale is, liquidity. But really what happened there is there was pressure put on that bank almost overnight to change the way they accounted for T-bills, I think, and the way they accounted for some other thing that was on their balance sheet. And it put too much pressure on them, and they had to shutter. But that's not a legit liquidity problem. That's been well documented. Like, you don't need to take my word for it. You can go read any number of different accounts of that instance and find that the best way to look at that is with a skeptical view of the official explanation, like many things.
Does it really matter?
Well, It sort of matters because then you don't really know how many banks went quote unquote bankrupt. Like how many of them just got pressured or, guy was in the Epstein files or something. Like who knows, right?
If you go to the bank and you try to get your money out,
functionally for the savers, no, it doesn't matter. Yeah.
And then,
of course.
And furthermore, for the taxpayers that bail out to $250,000 per account, I don't care why it fucking failed. I just care it failed. And it's a matter of time before they all fail at this particular rate. Because let's be honest, the banks, you just need a couple of big players, each of the big banks asking for their money, and they're insolvent.
Yeah, but that's never going to happen. What's actually going to happen is the currency.
Never.
Yeah, it's not going to happen. What's actually going to happen is the currency is going to fail. And so the banks will always have your savings, but they'll gate your withdrawals or they'll gate your, the value accrued, or the currency will no longer keep up with the rate of inflation or whatever. Like that's what I mean. Definitions are so skewed now that when someone says the bank has failed, they only mean the door's closed. What they should mean is, did they ever, tell you your money wasn't available? Did they ever, did the currency?
Could you assume that was ever
flop?
There?
I mean, obviously not. Obviously not. Obviously not. Yeah.
Fuck, that's not even a case to
That's
be
what
discussed.
I mean. That's what I mean. Like, it's like a nightmare for people who are saving. And I think I made this point on Bitcast, I think. But the thing is, like, the risk is all on you, the saver. All the other stuff that goes on behind the scenes, the overnight loans, the rehypothecation, the reserve ratio, which is zero, non-existent, by the way, it's all benefiting those guys. But you are taking all the risk, not them. Like the risk is all with you on your side of the counter, and on the other side of the counter, it's all just moving ones and zeros on Excel sheets and hoping that they can tell you to not take any money out because you tweeted something mean or whatever. Like that's basically where we are now. So Bitcoin is going to be fine, and it's going to be more and more frequently used by dissidents, not because we find dissidents need more ways to spend money, but because everyone will become a dissident in the eyes of the state at some point in the next decade.
Now,
and you need that second money.
Is this a Bitcoin story or is this a shitcoin / fiat story?
It's a Bitcoin story. It's a Bitcoin story.
You think so?
Yeah, if for no other reason than because I think it was MoBTC Dick who said in the boost, like, what does this symbolize? I see all the time. You got to look at the signpost, man. You can't look at the lines on the highway. You can't look at the traffic. You got to look at the signs. Like you're headed the right direction here in terms of legitimacy. And by the way, this is one of the reasons that it's actually never been easier to buy Bitcoin from like a, testicular fortitude standpoint at 50% off the highs. We talked about this, when we had that crash a few weeks ago or a month ago, whatever it was, we both came on the show with Boomer, I think. And we talked about how, look, we were buying Bitcoin in 2017 when it dropped from 20,000 to 3,000 because of Bitcoin Cash. We bought it in 2020 during COVID when there was a pandemic no one knew anything about. There was no regulatory clarity. There was no institutionalization. There was no treasury assets. There was no too big to fail. And now it's all there. It's never been easier to buy low-priced Bitcoin than it is today. And this is yet another reason, I think.
It's never too high for me to buy, in my opinion. But that's just my.
Oh, you're right. You're not wrong about that. I think you should. It's ABB, man. Always be buying. That's isn't that the that's the best way to accumulate, the best way to see growth. And as many people will tell you, if you miss the 10 best days in Bitcoin every year, you're down in terms of the quality of your investment.
The same thing with
for sure. And so it's everywhere. Traditional markets have this too. And so I would just tell people, like, don't get cute. Just be buying, man. Spend something.
Exactly it.
The position size is what you should be looking at, not the days you're not buying or when to sell. Like, there's too many obvious reasons to keep buying.
100%. But I'm skeptical. This is not a Bitcoin story.
Well, you tell me why it's not a Bitcoin story.
Because I can't see any way that this is going to push the narrative of Bitcoin. Right away, we saw the news that they're going to tokenize stocks and ETFs and shit like that. I think that's the MO of the day. They're going to try to maximize profits as much as possible, be it Bitcoin or not Bitcoin. It doesn't really matter. They'll just do whatever blockchain they need to do, whatever DeFi token they want to push out, they'll do it, because at the end of the day, they're trying to make as much money as possible for they're not publicly traded, for their owners, I guess, right now. To be shareholders, they're going to go publicly traded. Once it gets publicly traded, that would be an interesting thing, because now if they're going to also still have the Fed account, I don't know. Coinbase is just, they got to be licking their chops and say, fuck, we're next.
Yeah, for
These guys are doing it. We can't fall behind. Right. Yeah.
Listen, if you're watching on YouTube, make sure you like the video, okay? I'm trying to grow the YouTube side, so do that for me. Okay, next story. Where are we going?
Paraguay. Let's go South America.
Paraguay.
They want to get into Bitcoin mining, and they want to scale up their operations in a very interesting way. And how is that? Confiscation of all things, right? And their state-owned power company, Andy or Ande, I don't know. Anyways, they
It might even be a acronym, right? I don't know.
Yeah,
I
but
really have no idea. Yeah,
we still say out acronyms too, right?
Yeah. They're never going to send us a T-shirt. I'll tell you that. You're never going to.
We could ask. We'd like to
You
have
think?
one.
Do they even do? What do we do?
Probably.
Email them? Fax them? What's going on over there?
Do you want me to call them like I did?
What's the worst that can happen? I don't know. Call them on air.
Who
like
the fuck did I call in here? What was
Bitcoin
it?
Well. Yeah.
No.
Oh, no, Bitcoin Magazine.
Nakamoto.
Yeah, that's right.
I should call up
Bitcoin Well, by the way, teetering on being called on the air too, according to Len. Len, I'll ask some questions for them as well.
I don't get anything answered. I mean, I'm kind of pissed off that I ask questions in both official and unofficial channels, and they just fall on deaf ears. You know, like I find that to be, I don't know. It is the way things are done.
No comment.
Outside looking in.
No
But Ande, anyways, these guys, they signed the Carney Special. That was an MOU to launch a new initiative over there, and it is a state-run mining operation. And this is all through the confiscation of equipment, as I said, because the government is sitting on 30,000 pieces of equipment, ASICs, and they got this all through raids of illegal operations. So people were setting up mining operations that were not properly vetted by the people in charge over there. Raids took place over the last 2 years, and now they have 30,000 ASICs that they're sitting on. So what to do with all that equipment? You just don't let it sit there collecting dust. They don't want to sell it, it looks like. No, they want to do something interesting. They want to energize it. And so they're starting off with a pilot project using 1,500 of these ASICs, and they're going to be powered by surplus electric energy that is going to be generated through a dam. And normally the electricity that is being generated from this dam is sold to Brazil for fucking pennies, far, far less than what they would get if they are going to use that to mine for Bitcoin. And Bitcoin mining, say what you want. We see a lot of people changing their minds and going to AI. That's fine. But it's very lucrative when you generate your own power and the equipment is free, which in this case it was. I mean,
2 generations old, but still free. Yeah,
it doesn't matter. It's just fucking free, and you're generating your own electricity. It's giddy up, right? Let's do it.
Yeah.
But now comes the problem that it has not yet been discussed. Maybe not a problem, but something that will need to be dealt with in the not too distant future. What to do with the Bitcoin that they earn? They're going to mine Bitcoin. They're going to collect Bitcoin. What do they do with it? They keep it. Do they sell it? Do they trade it for wrapped Bitcoin? There's a lot of different options out there that they could do. But at this time, it's not known. I'm assuming they're going to sell it. It only makes perfect sense for them to do it because their balance sheet doesn't look all that healthy. So if they could do whatever they can to try to make the negative a little bit less painful for the people, I think people are going to be happy about that. But yeah, interesting. Paraguay, Bitcoin mining.
Ande is saying that they think the mining operation will net them about 240 million US in annual revenue. So the answer is, yeah, they're going to sell. I don't know at what price, but I would assume that's today's prices or somewhere between that, 125, 126 high and today, whatever it's at, 66, 67. I don't know. That's what I would guess. The interesting thing here is that, did you know that Hive is operating in Paraguay? They just bought Bitfarms facility for 56 million in January, and now they're going to be competing with the government over there, who just stole a bunch of machines. Generational sell from Bitfarms, maybe we'll find out, I guess. But I don't like governments interfering with things like this. And one thing we talk about a lot, Len, is how there's no economic calculation for governments. Are they going to consider the cost of power and the opportunity cost of taking that power from potentially other productive uses? Not that Bitcoin mining is not productive, of course, but I mean, they're obviously incentivized. Well, still, they're incentivized to not use that for something else. Right?
But it's not being used to anything. It's
well,
surplus.
Not right now. But if someone somewhere down the line says, "Hey, I want to invest in Paraguay," are they going to give up their power and their mining income to support that?
That's a good question.
The answer is probably no. The answer is probably no.
It really depends. We don't know, but the beautiful thing that this provides is they could easily scale it up or down.
Yeah.
They're not forced to
Mhm.
continually draw that same power to energize those machines.
Yeah.
They could do
This
whatever
is a
they want.
big benefit of mining. Yeah. Big benefit of mining.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you could be very agile in terms of the energy usage. You could go with 100%, 0, whatever you want, anything in between. And
Mhm.
because, like I mentioned, like we talked about, this is confiscated equipment. It's not like they have skin in the game that they got to get the ROI back on what they invested in this. Somebody else fucking bought this. The price was basically sending the police over to collect the fucking equipment. Right? And they're paying, right? They're not paying that much to do that. So it's essentially free. Wow. Whatever. They got 1 million Bitcoin left to mine. Good luck to them if they want to mine all of it.
Yeah.
Core Scientific won't be mining it, I can tell you that, because they're selling off some Bitcoin. Some 1,900 Bitcoin were sold off in January. It looks like they're going to sell everything that they have. This was once one of the largest publicly traded Bitcoin miners out there, and they've pivoted to AI, and they went all in for that approach, and that's fine. And nothing new here, but we have some interesting news this past week. Morgan Stanley, they like the move to AI so much that they are preparing to offer Core Scientific $500 million loan, and that is for expansion of the AI data center. There's also the optionality to increase that loan to $1 billion. And I'm wondering how many Bitcoin miners out there that are looking at this move, and they're thinking about, and we should make this change to AI. And they look at Morgan Stanley offering up money and say, you know what, this might be an opportunity for us. It's not just the stock price. Look at the stock price of Core Scientific since they made the move compared to Bitcoin miners. It's significantly higher, right? So the market participants, they like what this is all about. They like this move. So if you're a Bitcoin miner and you're looking, okay, these guys switched to AI, the valuation of the company went up. Big boys like Morgan Stanley are willing to open up their purses to lend you money. It's hard to say that they're going to stay doing this. Like, I look at Marathon, right? Like, how long before they make this move? Slipstream, like, how much is that making them? Caspa's making them fuck all. Shareholders must be asking questions. When are they going to change their direction? Maybe soon.
Yeah. There's a legal responsibility these companies have, especially if they have the capability to swap to a different use case for their hardware and their PPAs. Core says that pivoting to AI nets them somewhere between 3 and 25x more revenue per kilowatt hour than Bitcoin mining.
That's an interesting analysis.
That's a lot. That is a big.
And if everything
Huge.
being equal,
yeah,
right? Because there's a lot we just don't know. But if everything being equal, why would any company out there saying that, that doesn't generate normal electricity, for instance, still want to do this?
Yeah,
Bitcoin mining.
We talked it. Listen, you can go back in our catalog years at this point, and it started around the time I was doing research for Jeff Lucas, maybe a little before that, where the question that I was asking was, if you want to be exposed to AI as a Bitcoin miner because it makes more money, why would you ever stay in Bitcoin? What's the point? You need the asset to go up. Your shareholders are impatient. Your investors are impatient. And you have responsibilities to maximize share value. You almost, once you dip a toe into AI, you're out. You're out. And the more that we look at Bitcoin mining share prices, the more that it seems the market has realized this too. The sort of apple of our eye, IRON, if you're like a Bitcoin mining shareholder, buyer, enthusiast, whatever, IRON really is the golden goose in that whole industry, and they're obviously doing HPC now too. It's just hard to justify looking at that share price compared to the HODL miners, the Maxi miners. It's hard to justify buying any of this other stuff. And I don't know what the plan is for industrial mining going forward, because the one thing that AI is, you may disagree with the thesis, you may disagree with AGI, you may think all these guys are like, a little bit off their rockers, the Altmans, the Amadeus, the whoever else in the AI space. But the one thing you can't argue with is that AI right now is the arms race, and governments want this thing to not only work, but flourish and crush the opposition. So what are they going to do? They're going to make anything related to AI as friendly as possible. They're going to subsidize power around those plants to keep people happy and make sure there's no protests or disagreements with local communities where these things are planted. And I just don't see this stopping anytime soon. Can Bitcoin say the same thing? No. And NVIDIA is a huge holding in stuff like American pensions and Canadian pensions. You need that company to be successful. The Mag 7s now are all agreeing to contracts with not only AI companies, but also hardware manufacturers. So whether it's Intel, NVIDIA, you name it. This stuff is a security issue now. And I don't necessarily just mean a military security issue, but rather a societal cohesion security issue. You need those pensions to stay afloat. You need those entitlements to stay afloat. And how do you do that? You got to keep those stock prices high. And I think you're going to see more and more of this because it is the rational thing to do if you're a miner. Now I'll ask you, how many more industrial miners have to go to AI before you start worrying about hash rate?
I don't have any problems with that because the fact is there's going to be some privately held Bitcoin miners that just because they just don't want to switch, they'll just continually mine Bitcoin rather than switch to AI.
I think that is, I could not disagree with that more.
I'm looking at Bob Burnett, for instance. I'm using that as the example. So
yeah,
you'll have some of those. And then I'm not sure how easy it is to set up AI in the wilderness where you have stranded energy far away from. But from what I gather, setting up one of those portable AI systems, data centers, they are available. I just haven't really looked too much into that. I know that the ones for the Bitcoin do exist. Steve Barber, for instance, sells those.
Yeah.
So, that's one thing. Also, as you get less people mining for Bitcoin, the rewards for mining Bitcoin go up. And so the desire to mine Bitcoin also goes up with that. So it's something that just, it works on its own. It's a wonderful system.
Yeah, I don't think it's a closed loop like you're describing. I think the rewards go up and more people want to mine, but I think the price is attached to security now more than it's ever been. And the reason I ask about the HPC affecting hash rate is because now you're going to see security getting pinched from both sides. On one side, you have the increase in power in these chips in terms of the likelihood that they could destroy the Bitcoin security or do like a 51% attack. That's one problem. And then on the other side, you have the number of miners that are leaving for HPC growing by the day. You mentioned Burnett. It's not that I don't like Bob Burnett, but I think if the argument for continued growth in hash rate relies on people acting irrationally because they like Bitcoin, we're fucked. And we got to start thinking about it is true. No one acts rationally forever because it doesn't make sense. And you have a self-survival instinct and all these things. And he can't do it.
I think,
and even if he is a guy who acts irrationally and goes down with the ship, so to speak, he needs everyone else or a bunch of other people to do the same thing. Like it doesn't make sense. And it's never happened.
Joey, do you mine at a loss?
No,
you don't. So the buying of the equipment that right now are you?
Maybe a minor loss.
You're acting irrationally. So people do this because they love the thing.
Yeah, but you have no. I have no other choice. I can't pivot my S19 to AI. I don't have shareholders. I don't have any of these things. If I had a lot of hardware,
you could easily pivot. You could unplug and sell. You choose not to. You continue to mine at a loss. That's number one. Number two is if you look at the amount of hashes out there, Joey, it's an extraordinarily high number. A 51% attack, a sustained 51% attack that is going to be able to double spend over many, many blocks and to make sure that no other miner out there that is a good actor mines a block. That is very, very challenging to do because that amount of energy and equipment plugged in for a long time just doesn't work. And what do you achieve in the end?
It's expensive today.
Eventually you have a good miner build a block and it undo everything that is done by that 51% attack.
Yeah, I don't know. I think there's a lot of pressure coming.
With that being said, somebody would look at it and say, why would anybody want it to do any sort of attack against it just because the amount of effort and amount of money you have to put into this and achieve fucking nothing in the end? They would rather build a rocket to go to Mars than do something like this.
You don't think even if a good miner built a good block after 5 double spend blocks that the price would be irreparably damaged? Of course it would.
It would fix itself.
The price. Not everyone is Len. The price would be irreparably damaged if that happened.
It would fix itself over a long enough period of time. It may take a year or two. That's what I'm trying to get at is what you're doing. You're just damaging it for a temporary period of time, eventually it will get back to where it should be, because people look at the assets and say, look, we've had issues in the past. We've had the inflation bug, for instance.
Mm-hmm.
There's issues, it gets fixed, and we move on, right? We have spam, we have garbage that's being put on there. We live with it. This is the way it is. We try to address it as best we can. You have to price this shit in. If you want to use it to fucking put dick pics on there, you pay for it. It sucks for people that run a node, but you know what? That's the way the system is built up. And if that's the case, if you want to try running a mining farm, a massive mining farm, in order to fucking do a sustained 51% attack against Bitcoin, I encourage you to do it. Because in the end, you're going to bankrupt yourself. What do you achieve? You're bankrupt and Bitcoin still runs. What's the fucking point?
We'll see. I hope you're right, but I think like
it would have
many
been done
things,
today if that's the case.
Yeah,
and it gets harder every day as more and more power is needed, and you have to then. There's not many fucking bit farms out there that are selling all their equipment to Hive. There's only so much equipment that, right? Like, no, man. We'll
see. We're gonna see. We're gonna see.
It's all fudge. Strike. Let's talk about new product was released by them. The Bitcoin-backed line of credit.
Love it.
And it's not the same as the Bitcoin-backed loans that they offered and they announced last year, I believe it was. The Bitcoin-backed line of credit, 13% APR. No credit check required for this. They say that collateral is held securely. There's no rehypothecation of this. We've been through this fucking song and dance before with them. I don't fucking believe them one fucking bit. And I say, like, every time I see this, is like, I want to see that GTA meme where, oh shit, here we go again. That's exactly what I fucking think about this thing. The max loan to value is 50%. So you may ask, how the fuck does this different? Is Bitcoin backed line of credit differ from the Bitcoin backed loans? Essentially, you're putting up Bitcoin for both of them and you're getting some sort of fiat loan. Mm-hmm. Same shit, not quite. The Bitcoin backed line of credit is like a bucket you could draw upon, right? Think of it like your home equity line of credit. Don't have to do it, but you could do it anytime you want. It's like any other line of credit you're accustomed to. There's no fixed date of repayment for the line of credit. With the Bitcoin backed loans, you have 12 months to pay that back. The APR is slightly better with the Bitcoin-backed loans versus the line of credit. And this is supposed to be the line of credit for people that want to have flexibility, give users a lot of flexibility with getting some extra scratch. And I look at this, it's good to have options, right? I like having options. I like having people do the ability, whatever you want. There is a potential use of Bitcoin as a medium of exchange. I look at what the Czech Republic is doing, right? Because this seems like more of a band-aid until the Czech Republic style system comes out, where I believe it's $4,300 is going to be tax-free as long as you hold your Bitcoin for 3 years. That's what I want to see. That's the stuff. So something like this is kind of a band-aid until that comes out. I understand this probably would work well for people that are living on a Bitcoin standard or have a lot of Bitcoin. I get it. But I don't know. For the majority of people, I think that there's better options out there. If you need money, you're probably going to be needing a little bit of money. I would suggest sell blood, sell whatever, do something else. Don't expose your Bitcoin, because Bitcoin price could go up and it could go down. And it goes down and you have to fucking deal with that. The LTV of 50% has got to be dealt with. I don't know. Interesting. I wouldn't use it.
Yeah, I think this is going to wind up being a product that a lot of people like. You mentioned there that it's not being rehypothecated. I think that's I think it's obviously not being rehypothecated because they're not paying a premium to you like Ledin does, for example. What they're doing is collecting interest on a loan. So when like that's the way that the income stream for Strike will work in this situation. To your point, though, the volatility of the price really will get people in trouble. Like, you just never know what's going to happen in terms of a giant price move, a liquidation cascade. The worst part, Len, is that these things seem to always happen on like Saturday nights and Sunday nights. So you're at the mercy, potentially of a geopolitical event or a global event that you're not paying that much attention to. You may not even be home when it happens. What is the, the leniency level that Strike is willing to exercise with you as someone who's got a Bitcoin-backed loan. These are difficult questions to answer without trying it. In Canada, we don't have to worry about this because it's not available to us. Like everything else, stuck in the dark up here. But I think it's going to wind up being something people take advantage of. I don't know what the likelihood is of de minimis tax exemptions really taking shape on Bitcoin. It seems less and less likely by the day. And also, let's face it, if I want to spend Bitcoin, the likelihood that I am going to spend Bitcoin for a coffee is very low. But for like a home improvement, maybe. For a car, maybe. And if you don't want to spend that larger amount of Bitcoin, this is a pretty good option, right? 9.5 APR is pretty good. That's lower than you get on, I think, a line of credit these days. I don't know what a line of credit is.
It's higher than that. It's 13% APR. The 9.5 comes from the other product they're offering, the Bitcoin loans.
Right. Okay.
The Bitcoin line of credit is 13%. Now that could change depending. Obviously this is it's a floating rate, but if you need the money, like I said, there's other things you could do. I would even suggest looking to fucking borrowing traditionally than exposing your Bitcoin. Another thing, by exposing your Bitcoin to this type of system, it's more KYC for what you own. Do you really want to deal with?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
I don't think so. I mean, but then look, that's my opinion. You all could do whatever the fuck you guys want to do. I know what I'm gonna do with mine. It's not going to be exposed to this kind of stuff. But
like I said before, like the other reason is because a lot of people, like if I think about people younger than me, they may not have traditional assets, and so you can't really use the traditional fiat loan system because you just don't have the collateral. So this is at least a chance to use some of the stuff that you view as valuable as collateral, as opposed to
I see where you're coming from in terms of like not having, but I would
it's risky. It's still risky.
Yes.
Still risky.
I'm not going to suggest. I will say that some people, and this is not something I recommend people doing, but some people may even decide to sell their Bitcoin, convert it to fiat, and use that to buy whatever it is they want to buy, either a home improvement, a car, or whatever, and don't even fucking report that. I don't suggest doing that. You always got to pay your taxes, ladies and gentlemen. I was skirting the system. It's the wrong thing to do, but people have done it in the past, and from what I gather, I don't think they got their wrists slapped yet.
Yeah.
So, Mayor Ken Sim, you talked to this
friend of the show. Yeah, good dude.
Vancouver mayor, right? He wanted to make Vancouver more of a Bitcoin-friendly city, and looks like that dream may have died this week.
Brutal. Yeah,
because it looks like, that dream is gone. But if you're local indigenous over there, lots of dreams have been made this past few weeks. And the land is being, I don't want to go there, but it's interesting times over in BC. This city has their hands tied, from what I gather, the city of Vancouver, as they cannot hold Bitcoin as a municipal reserve asset. They just do not have the capacity as per the Municipal Finance Authority Act. They are governed by this. BC is the one that is that they're the people that they have to deal with. That's it is what it is. We could kick, scream, do whatever we want. It's just this is the law over there. This act does allow them to buy fucking bonds and GICs. The stuff that doesn't even keep up with actual inflation, they could buy as per the act. But Bitcoin, it's too speculative, right? Because it's not backed by any government. Not just Bitcoin. They can't buy gold. They can't buy silver, right? These are the things they can't buy. Anyways, they can't even buy ETFs, Bitcoin ETFs.
Yeah.
So they're stuck. That is it. So the dream is dead, and it's not due to any of the people out there like Mayor Ken Sim. He's just dealing with laws. That's fine. These laws have to change if they want to do this.
Ken Sim is too smart to be a politician. Having spoken to him, obviously on the show and a little bit before and after, he's too smart to waste his time and his, as the kids would say, his motion in the mayor's office. Was criticized for putting a gym in the mayor's office for everyone to use, has the vision to think about Bitcoin as a treasury asset. He's not suggesting they liquidate the treasury and buy Bitcoin. He's just saying that it'd be a good idea to have some Bitcoin in there. the bill was, or the suggestion was titled like become a Bitcoin friendly city.
And even collect Bitcoin through collection
Taxes.
of taxes.
Yeah. Easy stuff. Easy stuff. And just, you're constantly held back by people who just have no vision. Bureaucrats in general are sort of talentless parasites in a lot of the time. And when you talk about municipal politics, oftentimes these people are failed federal politicians, failed provincial politicians, failed business people, failed, you name it. And this is where they come to retire. It's like cattle grazing for publicly known failures. And you see that in a lot of big cities. Hamilton's like that. Toronto's like that. These people have no business chops or visionary chops. Sim's a different guy, obviously, was an entrepreneur and understands, I think, this sort of digital revolution that we are living through. By the way, he's not the only one, listening to guys like Evan Solomon talking about, art. The art dealer. Technology is moving. We have a choice between moving at the pace of technology and moving at the pace of trust when it comes to legislation, and we're going to move at the pace of trust. Like, that's fucking retarded. You can't think this way in the year 2026. You are constantly playing catch up. And again, like, don't make me tap the sign, sovereign individual. You knew this was going to happen if you read that book. You knew it. These guys have no interest in becoming better regulators, more progressive, more thinking writers of laws and rules and regulations and these things. The only interest they have is in preserving what ill-gotten power they've managed to accrue through brainwashing some portion of the 50 IQ electorate in any major city to get enough votes.
Well, keep in mind, I mean, you're not keep in mind, you're just hitting the nail on the head. There are really just two levels of government in Canada. You have the provincial and the federal.
Yeah.
If you look at everything, like when they founded the federation,
it's downstream. It's all downstream.
It's all defined. You have this for the federal government deals with, that is dealt with the province. So the province then, as you said, is downstream. They created a new layer, but it really is just a fictional layer that is created by the province. And so everything that you see there, it's all just because of the provincial legislators. They're the ones that are defining what the cities can do. Sometimes they give a little more leeway, like in Toronto, they have the Toronto Act where they could actually raise taxes and shit like that. But for a lot of municipalities, like in Ontario, for instance, they don't have that ability because Ontario is the one that's going to have to levy everything and do it. So here, if you're pissed off at this, the people that you have to deal with are BC MPPs. Talk to them, have them change the laws, and go from there. But until that's done, it's never going to change.
The thing is that, at some point, there will come a time when some threshold is passed and it no longer makes sense. And I'm going to talk about this with Francis on Thursday too. Spoiler alert. It just no longer makes sense to adhere to the rules of the state above you. Like, enough people want to do something differently. And so what the province wants doesn't matter. The province wants to do something differently. Enough people want it. It makes sense. And so what the federal government wants doesn't matter anymore. And, there's a number of relationships that are like this in Canada. Vancouver may or may not be one. I don't know, what the desire for a Bitcoin city was over there. It seems to be not as great as, we had hoped. But for a lot of people, this is going to start to become obvious, even if they can't articulate it. It's happening everywhere at every level. It's happening in schools. It's happening in, sporting clubs. It's happening all over the place. And the idea that productive people will continue to just allow themselves to be governed by fools, I think is misplaced and becoming more misplaced thanks to stuff like Bitcoin that just says, well, I'm not going to put up with this anymore. I'm agile. I can either leave or affect change, but you're going to be governing nobody at some point. And, there's only so many bananas to go around in a banana republic. Once you run out of those, you're just passing laws for yourself at that point. There's no one
there's still a lot of people willing to come here because life is better in Canada.
Yeah, but it's only better because of the people who are here now. And once those people leave, this is the fact of the matter, right? So that's what I mean.
It will take a generation or two to really feel the impact of that. It will be a slow degradation of everything. You'll see society continually devolve around you, but it will take decades, I think, before you hit rock bottom. So it's still, you'll find people wanting to come here because life is better here than it is in a lot of other places out there. And I totally understand why people want to come here. But be agile, man. Have the ability to move around, go somewhere, and don't be stuck wherever if you want to go somewhere, don't be stuck there, because things could change wherever you are, and your opinion on shit could change. I'll be honest, like the things that were important to me 10, 15 years ago, they're not important to me now. And the things that are going to be important to me in 10, 15 years from now, they're not really important to me right now. I don't think. I'm always evolving, I think. That's the way I am. Anyways, I think that's it for the Bitcoin. Like, we've done enough for the Bitcoin side of things. 55 minutes in, we got tons to talk about, plus a very interesting Hamilton versus Brampton man segment.
Okay. Let's cut it down. We'll go over to the other side. If you're on audio, come back tomorrow for the back half. If you're on video, stay with us. Make sure you like the video, all that good stuff, and we'll see you in a second.
And don't be a cuck. Want you there.
Okay, well, I mean, quite a lead there you buried with the Hamilton Brampton.
We're not starting.
We got half an hour to go. Yeah, we got half an hour to go.
We're ending that. So like that's the end. But I guess we'll talk about like oil, for instance. It's a good topic.
Round tripping, by the way.
It's the price action of this is going nuts. It went up so much, it went down so much. I thought we were going to get to see $2 per liter over here in Canada. Maybe not. Maybe we still are. I don't know. Diesel, yesterday was hovering up close to $2 in
Crazy.
Canada.
Yeah.
And if you look at
that's economy destroying prices, by the way, $2 diesel. That's like
that's even just the beginning. Like, things could get way. If you consider the price of gas a few weeks ago was $1.20, at least over here. Everywhere it may be higher or lower, but at least I'm going to use the example here, $1.20. That's what. Like, if you look at the price of food, how much it's gone up in the past few years, the price of gold, how much that's fucking changed in the past year, the price of a new car, used car, like all this shit has gone up tremendously. $1.20 a liter for gas. I've been brainwashed to think that this is fucking cheap. You see, like that is fucking like
it was 30 cents in the 90s. Yeah.
I remember filling up a go-kart for $2.
Nice.
In the 90s. Imagine that. But those days are long gone, right? I mean, we got the $80 West Testing WTI right now.
Yeah.
Is it $80? It went to what,
110? It was 84 when we started the show, I think, but it was 110 or 120. Yeah, like, the futures.
It's a tough pill to swallow, right? And you got the price of food, like I talked about. It's already very, very high in Canada, and in comparison to other G7 nations. And this is going to get worse as the price of diesel goes up because, well, who eats that cost in the end? It's the consumers, right? Now, when the price of gas goes up, another thing that's going to be discussed or at least talked about more is EVs. People are going to look at this as an alternative to be shielded away from the volatility of gas prices. So this is something else. And with all that, you had the fucking oil price going up, going down, gas going up. You got the job market too, which I found to be fucking incredible. The numbers that came out. Canada, we have a rough time because we have in the past little while we have continually the same thing: less full-time jobs, more part-time jobs, and this is just a constant. And when you have this is not a recipe for success. And in the United States, 92,000 jobs lost in February. And this is before what you call the Department of Downward Revisions taking it in effect here, which historically they change this thing negatively. If they do, those numbers are going to look even worse once they get their hands in it. Video cards. Like, let's go through this. Like, you want to play a good game. You lost your job. What are you going to do? Build a PC? Fuck that. You can't build a modern PC. The RTX 5090, it took a peak. This could set you back $5K USD.
Yeah.
Holy fuck,
buddy! I told you we bought this rig that I'm streaming on now. The show owns this rig for video. We bought it in November. It has a 5070, and we got the whole rig for, I think after tax it was like a little shy of $3,000. You can't even buy the card anymore.
Let's sell that shit. Let's go on a long vacation and enjoy it. DDR5 memory, the memory of that 4x since October.
Crazy.
DDR4 3x since June of last year. And all this Why? Because AI. They're buying up all this, whatever. People are now unemployed, temporarily adjusting to this thing. Amazon, Microsoft, Block we had recently, all moving towards more AI.
Yeah.
More so Block than the other two. But you know what? I look at that as the poster boy. That and H-1Bs and offshore jobs. Again, a healthy economy, right? This is not. And then the environment of the war. Like we first had the war in Eastern Europe, drawing all the attention and resources from the countries. No country wins a war of attrition against Russia. Not the fucking Germans, not the French, nobody. Now you got Iran versus Israel and United States. I mean, I don't know. The Leafs weren't even expected to make the playoffs. It's a fucking zoo now with everything's going on. Gold, I'd expect gold to fucking be ripping in this environment.
Yeah.
In a situation where you have these big players getting involved in the war, the Strait of what the fuck is called
Hormuz, yeah.
20% of oil passes through there. Qatar is sending, they used to send a lot of LNG to Europe. That's shut off. But still, gold not moving. What the fuck caused it to move before all this took place? If it should have moved anywhere, anytime, it should be now, but it's not. Something is fucked up. I don't understand, but the paper economy, I'm looking at that, the bonds, the equities, legacy banks, they're fucking going to be begging for your money because they need your participation moving forward. Without your participation, they're fucking dead in the water. And when you do, the gatekeepers like BlackRock, for instance, right? These guys, these motherfuckers, they won't let their investors pull out their money, their funds, right? BlackRock, billions of dollars stuck, right? And people wonder why I have Bitcoin. I don't have to ask anybody when I have to move or deal with my Bitcoin, right? Then BlackRock, from what I gathered, there's a circuit breaker. When there's redemptions that go past a certain percent, 5%, they stop it. Yeah. They say, fuck you. You can't get access to your money. No more fucking trading for you. What a fucking joke. It's not your money. It's somebody else's, even when you're dealing with these motherfuckers. Blackstone as well. What's this with these fucking names, by the way, right? It's all, so they want us to keep us in the dark. That's the reality. They're not fucking hiding it. Even they have a redemption 7%. They had to up it to 7%, but still, appreciate it, bud. 7% is pretty solid, but I don't want to beg you for my cash. And you wonder, like, does this impact IBIT? This is a big one for Bitcoiners. Apparently not. This whole redemption bullshit, IBIT is not being impacted right now.
No,
I say right now because tomorrow is another day. We don't know. It's not tainted by this fiat bullshit. It's still wrapped in fiat, but it's not tainted by it. But I just want to quickly go further into the weeds here. I can't believe I'm fucking doing this shit because in Canada, a bunch of people are collecting CPP, right, Joey?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
To the tune of 6.6 million, according to Google, as of 2024. It's 14% of the population.
It's got to be even higher now. Yeah, it's got to be even higher now. Yeah.
Is that a lot? I mean, I'll let you decide how many people rely on that. What about people on CDPQ? How about people collecting from the Ontario Teachers Pension? It goes on and on. You got a lot of people out there that are collecting, and well, these pensioners, where do they get their money from? They're getting shut out from these BlackRocks and Blackstones and stuff like that. I can't buy enough Bitcoin when I see this kind of stuff, right? Like I say, I have access to my fucking Bitcoin 24/7, and people don't have access to their money when they rely on this fucking bullshit. But on top of all this, you think that parking your wealth, this is just an absolute beauty. This is a cherry on top, Joey. With all these fiat games going on, right? I think a great place to park money is in energy.
Mm-hmm.
Right? You look at what's going on out there.
Can't print more energy, right? Can't print more
prices
energy.
Going up, at least now. Maybe it went down. Anyways, in late 2025, 4 jabronis, they were represented by EcoJustice. They filed a lawsuit against the CPP. Did you know this, Joey?
I think we talked about this.
They were saying that the CPPIB was effectively gambling with their future solvency to chase short-term profits because they were continually buying fossil fuel expansion and pushing that narrative.
Yeah,
I cannot wait to fucking leave, man. I'm done on so many fucking levels when I see this fucking bullshit. This stuff, it just drives me fucking bonkers. I love it and I hate it at the same fucking time.
Couple things. The pensions and both public and private pensions. So teachers, CPPIB, CDPQ, whatever. This is the next domino to fall, I think, in a lot of ways. And it's going to be hard to spin the pensions having problems with, not necessarily with liquidity. I don't think that's going to be the problem. I think the problem is going to be freedom of investment.
Yes, ability to move markets and do whatever they want to do with the money they have.
They're not going to be allowed to invest past a certain percentage in foreign markets, in oil and gas, in whatever. Like they'll come up with a number of, let's say just sort of blacklisted investments. This is not new, by the way. In Canada, Freeland, when she was finance minister, talked about this. Carney has talked about this, both in his role as a bank governor and also in his role as PM, that we have to incentivize the pensions to invest in Canadian companies. I've said a million times on this show that the Uniparty is alive and well in Canada because the Conservatives also have this same idea. Expanding out your TFSA room to 12,000 and then telling you that 40% of it's got to be in a pre-selected basket of Canadian equities is capital control. And what you have brewing in Canada is a big time failure to launch on projects that would have helped to prevent this outcome. The Major Projects Office just took an L on a pipeline expansion, I think, or a pipeline build out. I forget what, but more or less because of native interests. I think I have to do some more research into this, but it happened late last week. At the same time that oil, was ripping up and down like a gold chart during.
Well, they're going to build out a port in BC, and that's been.
They couldn't do it, right? They're not allowed to do it, and I just think until we start taking seriously the potential that the golden goose that we enjoy in terms of the pension and to some extent healthcare, although obviously we'll talk about the direction that's going tonight too. You have to be in other assets. Arthur Hayes makes this point a lot, and maybe most famously in an essay he wrote probably 3 years ago, talking about outside money. And this is something I've talked about on TradFi podcasts I've been on. I've talked about at conferences I've gone to, talked about it with like real estate people at the Karadza's stuff. Outside money has never been more important. And to a lot of people, outside money used to be gold. That was what it meant to have outside money. But gold was sort of a fun thing to hold in a world where you thought that you could bring gold to a shop to trade it for fiat to make a purchase or whatever. But when you have this this sprouting issue with societal cohesion, you have these other issues with the sort of like likelihood that the gold you have is actually there in a vault somewhere. You have an issue with redemption. You have an issue with shipping. In terms of actual redemptions from overseas vaults, gold suddenly doesn't look as good. Not to mention that if you were holding gold through the 70s, from the 70s to like 2008, for example, you basically got beat by everything else. So gold was meant to be a wealth preserver. You got beat by the S&P. Gold is meant to be a wealth preserver, got beat by real estate. Gold is meant to be a wealth preserver, got beat by farmland. Gold is meant to be a wealth preserver, got beat by, Mike Richter rookie cards, whatever, right? There's one for you, Len. The CAGR on gold from that period is like 7%. CAGR on the S&P was about 13. So the sort of rebuttal to that would be, well, 7% is a great CAGR. Yeah, it is, but not when the easiest thing to buy would have netted you double. Not when the easiest thing to buy, real estate, would have netted you double or triple. That's the problem, right? And so when you start to look at what gold's done, you have to admit that it's failed as a store of value and a wealth preserver. I think that's number one. But number two, maybe more importantly, on the issue of money in crisis, you can't transport gold safely if you are in a crisis where you need to use gold. And if you need to use gold, you are in a crisis, and you can't transport it safely. You're not armed. You don't have the proper mechanisms to store it. You don't have the proper mechanisms to test it or weigh it or check purity, any of these things. You simply don't have them. The only retail stuff available to people damages gold during the process, requires stuff like acid testing. It's difficult to do. There's nothing wrong with that in good times when you're just going to the pawn shop to spin out a couple of couple of grams to, buy a PlayStation or whatever. Different story. But in a situation where you need to barter, this becomes extremely difficult to carry out. And so it affects the value of gold. And by the way, if you go to sell gold to somebody, do you think they're going to pay you per ounce if you show up with 20 kilos or 10 kilos? No, they're going to pay you less than market. Because why? Because it costs money to store it. It costs money to secure it. They have an overhead. Gold overhead is significant. Bitcoin doesn't have any of these problems. So now you're talking about pensions and currencies that are starting to head the wrong direction in Canada. You're talking about pensions and currencies that are starting to head the wrong direction in terms of value. You're talking about politicians who have no interest in actually fixing problems. They're looting the treasury as the sort of, as the story goes in this phase of the end of fiat. And now your asset that you wanted to hold for all this time is being killed by a new asset. And you're still unwilling to get rid of it. You still want to play in this fiat realm. You still want to play in relying on CPP. That's your plan. And like this is to say nothing of the tax regime becoming more oppressive. This is to say nothing of travel becoming more difficult. This is to say nothing of, I know we disagree on this, but I'm of the opinion that if you have a publicly funded pension, whether it's like teachers, cops, public service, whatever, like I would guess inside of 10 years, you're not going to be able to leave the country for more than a certain amount of days every year. And I really do believe that that's coming next, because why wouldn't it? It's easy pickings. Nobody would vote against, nobody who's having trouble affording a home would vote against boomers being able to hold all that wealth that they accumulated working for a publicly funded company or a publicly funded pension arm. No one would vote to have them leave with it. I think
lawmakers are the ones that do it, though. They're not going to vote themselves to be shut out from it. So you're basically telling them that to because they're the ones. Let's be honest, politicians, once they finish, the ones that are
why would they vote? They don't have to vote for theirs. They can just vote for yours. I'll give you an example. Look at the way that they're handling
CPP,
privacy
they're going
right
to be collecting that too, right?
They would, but they can leave and do whatever they want. You won't be able to.
But they won't be able to collect.
No, they'll collect. The politicians will continue to collect and will move freely, but the people who worked for the hospitals and whatnot, they will have a problem.
Okay,
and I think the reason I say that is because you're already starting to see two-tier justice in Canada in terms of the privacy stuff. For
sure.
And so I would just suggest to people, and I know you and I might disagree on this a little bit, but I would just suggest to people that if you think that the regime is going to become less oppressive and make it easier for you to leave with capital, especially capital that's quote unquote public money, I really think that's a mistake. And I would just ask that anyone, and you can maybe make the counterpoint here when I pass it to you, but you got to show me the evidence, the momentum that is going against that thesis, because I see it. I see it only going that way, and it's accelerating in the direction that I'm.
Then you're gonna have to separate somehow in a way that your CPP is different from their CPP, and they're able to get it. I don't know what type of mechanism. It's basically it's an all or nothing when it comes to this. So I just can't see them making a two-tiered CPP type thing.
I think the rules are going to change fast and furious in a lot of ways.
Well, let them. And you know what? The beautiful thing is there's a reason why my TFSA stands at exactly $0.
Yeah,
I have not added to it.
Yeah.
I continue not to add to it, and I'm proud not to add to it, and that's basically it. So anybody that follows in these footsteps, I think you'll be in a much better position because
for sure.
You have I don't give a fuck about anything at this particular moment. I just want to add to my stack of Bitcoin, my 0.1 BTC stacking goal, so I could retire. I'm getting closer and closer to hitting that, and once I get there, I'll be happy.
Is that what the boys are saying these days?
I have no idea. I don't keep up with all this fucking bullshit, Joey.
I don't know what their totals are now.
Do you understand? Like, I do not listen to much podcasts.
Yeah.
I do not watch any YouTube videos with respect to all this stuff. All this, it's just an echo chamber, and I don't really participate in it. So I don't know. I don't indulge. I don't digest. I just know that back in the day they were saying 0.1 Bitcoin is what you need to retire.
Who knows what
the fuck
is
that?
Yeah,
oh, whatever. Everybody's different, right? And if you're gonna go into like the pick a cheap country, fuck your purchasing power could go a lot further in some way. Like imagine comparing that to say living in London, England.
Oh my God. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Like it's and who'd want to live there?
Are people in Europe who see the EU going sideways likely to consider Canada? Boomer is mentioning something like this, that we might get a flux of people leaving the EU. I know London, not necessarily European Union, but I do kind of like that thesis that people will be looking for a country with similar benefits where they can use some of their earning power that they've accrued and get a little more bang for their buck in terms of like resettling. That's not a bad thesis. I don't know where people who are earning big money, I shouldn't say big money, but let's say, you know, someone with a net worth of like 2 million, right? That's probably a upper middle class Canadian lifestyle, net worth of 2 million. You include your house, savings, cars. You don't think? I think it's too high.
Struggling, a lot of people.
Yeah, maybe I'm wrong about that.
Maybe, I don't know. It really depends. I mean, if you're in the bush and you have that, it's a lot more. But if you're living in downtown Toronto, you know, and you're paying a mortgage on that.
And I just want to point out, John is saying like Europeans earning big money. LOL. The thing is that in London, you know, the average salary I would guess is probably close to $100,000 Canadian. You know, if you're working like a white collar job, I'd have to look, but I bet you it's closer to 100,000 than it is anywhere in Canada.
They bled a lot of capital left the UK in the past year and change because of taxation laws.
Sure.
They're going to other European nations. I mean, other places too, but a lot of European nations. I don't want to name them, but they've picked up the people. It makes sense, right? If you're going to go there and not get taxed to the same degree you are in the UK, fuck, and better weather, right? Like on top of that, like sign me up. And then, you know, some of these countries, they have access to, you could pay for healthcare. They may be publicly funded, some, but you know, in other cases, you could then also pay for. There's a 2-tier. So yeah,
the London median salary is 86,000 Canadian. So like
that's
those
cheap.
people,
I thought it'd be higher than that.
I mean, that's pretty good though. Like I would guess what's the median salary here, you think?
In Toronto, Toronto has so many like recently landed in people as well. They're probably going to drag.
So does London. So you know that's
legacy.
That's the comp. I don't know. I'm just
legacy
saying,
finance.
Like, you got finance in Toronto too. I know it's not quite the same. I know. But the point is that these white collar guys and girls,
the Romans didn't set Toronto up. They set up fucking London.
Yeah.
Right. It's a very old city that's dates back to the Roman era, right? They're the ones that set up the city. I don't know, man. We could talk about MAID.
Lower middle class in London, 81,000. Upper middle class in London, these are all medians.
130.
126.7, yeah. And then the live comfortably threshold is about 60,000 pounds, 108,000
Canadian. Oh, pounds, okay.
Pounds. In Toronto, the median salary you're never gonna guess what it is. London median salary is 86,000 Canadian.
57.
52. So it's like almost,
yeah.
I don't want to say a double because it's not almost double, but it's closer to a double than a half. And I just think people don't. And Boomer, that's a good point, man. I had not really considered that. So there you go.
Trying to live over there, you can't buy a home. A lot of it is renting. At least in Toronto, the dream up until very recently was you could always buy. That's sailed. And let's be honest, the public transit is way better over there. I mean, you probably get stabbed there too and killed, but at least you're able to get to your destination much quicker. Over here, you don't know. Right? They fucking built those subways 100 change years ago. Here, we're fucking every kilometer we gotta fucking do this. Environmental assessment.
I saw a guy on Twitter today say Toronto is going to get hit by a nuclear bomb in 2 weeks. Anyways, he's got the inside scoop. So you get 3 weeks with that new LRT, I guess, and then nuclear fallout.
Why like what did Canada do?
It's just some guy on Twitter. Who cares? He's probably trying to move Polymarket or something.
Anyway, we'll talk about MAID. Do you want to talk about the same day MAID?
I mean, the MAID story is one we've covered before, but the same day is really wild. 65 cases or something like that they've done
in Ontario.
Yeah.
But if you do, since 2023, it was 154 people got killed within 24 hours. It's
crazy.
Right? It's crazy. And so there was legislation when it was MAID was first legalized. There was a 10-day grace period, some sort of reflection, because you make a decision like that, you don't want to be hasty. You want to sober second thought type thing.
Yeah,
talk to friends, talk to family, sleep it off. Maybe I made the wrong decision, but no, man. Yeah. This is now 2021. The parliament revoked that, and Yeah, they could do it same day. Like there's some examples that were floating around. There was a lady in her 80s, and she had heart condition surgery, and there was some complications coming around that, and there was some caregiver burnout as a result of this, and she just wasn't happy. And you know what? 24 hours later, and then you see like these stories, and it just goes to show you, when you have a fucking broken money system, right? Like it just compounds the fucking problems, because you think you can't get out of, say you're laid off, depressed, there's no hope for a job, you have no house, you're living in a fucking basement, fucking bills coming out of your ears, you have no way to fucking pay all that. Like it just creates more and more fucking problems up. Like, and the fact that they're offering this and they're not giving people a chance just to fucking think it over.
Even
like
I read
second
this,
day, third day, a week, 2 weeks.
I read that somewhere, even if you say no after agreeing, they still do it, right? They actually assume that the other thing, that you've been pressured out of a decision you wanted to make, and so they do it anyway.
It's fucking ridiculous that this is being done.
Yeah,
and you have, like, depending on what you believe in, you have one shot at life.
Mm-hmm.
And once you give that up, think of all the people out there that don't live in Canada, would love to come here. They live in war-torn countries. They live in areas that are full of poverty, like real fucking poverty, disease, no clean water. You're shitting right beside yourself, and you're shitting like crazy as soon as you eat because of fucking dysentery and all this stuff. And people are just giving up on life over here. Like it is getting worse by the day, but it could be a lot worse, man. It's just too bad that mental health isn't being addressed. People need to fucking take a step back. It's easier for me to say this, right? I'm not in this position, but man, oh man, like I wish we could address these mental health issues, because life is sacred. And once it's gone, it's gone. You will not get a second chance. Like, fuck, it's too bad.
This is about cost savings, and it's about healthcare being overrun. I will die, no pun intended, on this hill. Some quick research here that I did before the show, and just fine-tuned here while you were giving the rundown. A MAID death, I think this is in Ontario, but we'll say Canada, costs how much do you think, including administrative costs?
35,000.
5,500. So
not cheap.
You got about $750,000. $750 for federal reporting and Health Canada oversight. There's provincial MAID coordination offices that charge about $500 per death. That's case intake, eligibility tracking, and assessor scheduling. So, scheduling doctor death to come see you. There's legal compliance and documentation at about $400 per death. It's mandatory written requests, witness verification, and record retention. Fine. And then the assessor training and cert programs are about $200 per death, amortized across the entire system. So all in is somewhere between $3,800 and $5,300 per death. Call it $4,500, let's say, is midpoint. So cheap. Treating a 65-year-old diabetic, how much do you think it costs over the remainder of their life? If there's no extra complications, I should say. The complications are too difficult to calculate.
$750,000?
It costs $250,000, $260,000-ish.
Oh.
That includes administrative overhead, like billing, insurance, routine care, blood work. And then there's, a whole other subsection here that's difficult to get your head around if there's complications. So, it's hard to imagine that what the government's trying to avoid here is throwing good money after bad in a lot of ways, right? So if I think about what a diabetic might go through, if you get to type 2 diabetes, what is that? What do we know about you for sure? We know you're impulsive. We know you probably have a food addiction. We know you probably need not only like insulin resistance protection, but also, I would guess, cardiovascular protection. You probably need physical rehab. You may need an amputation. The likelihood that you're going to be a significantly larger burden on the system, even if it's for a shorter period of time, is obviously like hundreds of times higher than someone who's healthy, or even a type 1 diabetic, right? Someone who's born with that deficiency. Meanwhile, you could say the same type 2 diabetic, who, by the way, is probably having a bad time at 65 or 70. Listen, we could put you through these appointments every week, blood work, dialysis. Your quality of life is going to depreciate rapidly or decline rapidly. Here's the chart that we show people that, the line goes down and to the right. Why don't you think about MAID? We'll give you some time to think about it with your wife. You know, maybe your wife's not well either and can't take care of you, which is another cost. You have to add a caregiver. Maybe you don't have insurance. Maybe you live far from the hospital. Maybe there's any number of different complicating factors that, like you said, if you were at a moment of weakness, you may find yourself a little more malleable and a little more receptive to the idea that, yeah, just, you know, let's end it with some quote unquote dignity. I disagree with that assessment, but that's, of course, what's in the pamphlet, if I had to guess. I've not seen a pamphlet. We should try and hunt one down for the show. Yeah. There's two things about MAID, okay? There's a pamphlet, and then it's full of AI slop graphics. I'm 100% sure of both. So they're saving themselves, you know, let's say $250,000, right? That's on the low end, because as I mentioned there, it doesn't really account for any complicated cases. And at a time when hospital wait times are through the roof, you know, we're losing something like 20,000 people a year on wait lists, dying, waiting for diagnostic scans. This is the way. And I'll just point to one other thing. And I'll draw from my own experience on this. If you think, and you can go back and listen to the show we did with Dr. Zrabian and Dr. Brian Day, both guys who work in medical, both guys who are concerned with the state of affairs and the administrative burden of the system. You can go back and listen to that. And the big point that they made and that I will make now is that there are better options that we could just use. It doesn't have to be the quote unquote like American system, you know, all insurers, all private, whatever. There can be a mix. There could be a hybrid system like you see in places like Europe. But even if you wanted to use an American system, more and more doctors now in Canada are saying, hey, if you don't need imaging, go to the States. I'll write you the referral. You can take it to the US. I did that for my knee. You know, for someone my age who just wants to go back to playing sports and lifting weights, living a healthy lifestyle, heaven forbid, prevent, by the way, changes in my gait. You know, that's the way you step. I don't know if everyone knows that term. Prevent changes in your gait that would lead you to get arthritis, need a knee replacement sooner, adding burden to the system, adding costs, right? Just kicking those costs down the road by waiting 12 months for a surgery and then being told by a surgeon, oh, you don't really need it. You're 38 years old. You know, if you just want to go play with your kid, you can do it. Just only run in a straight line from now on. Like that's what I paid in the system for. I paid for my whole life into that system. And then when I need it, I'm discouraged from using it. Meanwhile, you can go to the US and pay $700 for an MRI, get the results the same day, go the same day if you want. It's like a Shoppers Drug Mart over there.
You get a full body MRI in Mississauga, and I think the price is $7,000 or $8,000. Yeah, full body
in MRI. The states, the full body MRI is $3,100 Canadian. So like this is the problem is now there's too much competition and people are starting to wake up, especially guys our age. Like you're a little older than me, but we're in the same bracket, I would say. Guys our age who might need imaging for like sports injuries.
No,
like,
this is imaging for cancer. That's what they're doing. These MRIs.
No, but I'm saying if you want imaging for a sports injury, right? You know,
like think about that. Like when
it's crazy. You play a lot of sports. I play a lot of sports. Would you wait a year of no sports, not being able to play with your kid, you know, like being limited in what you could do, not being able to golf, not being able to do whatever?
I'll be honest. It depends if I fucked it up at the end of the year. I might be willing to wait a few months because I'm not playing anything.
Sure.
Right. Okay. Is it really? So it's hard to say. Like I can't give you an answer that's definitive across the thing. I would hate to. Yeah. But you know, if I could pay a little bit more to get something done, certainly.
This is how I know. This is how I know you've never needed surgery, because it's not about what you're doing at the time you get the imaging. It's about how long the recovery is, and you have to get through that imaging bottleneck to see a surgeon.
I've only had one surgery in my life. That was for my appendix.
Yeah. See. Like you have to get through the imaging bottleneck to see a surgeon.
There you go. Yeah.
And in Canada, and in Canada, like what do you do, right? And so to tie a bow on this and bring it back to MAID, everything is about cost savings. And until that changes, Canadians are getting the short end of the stick. It is. I see people in the chat. It's a disgrace. It's designed around the terminally ill. Yeah, Ryan, I get that it's designed around the terminally ill, but I mean, the reason we brought this up is because this is a story we actually covered a few years ago, Len. You may remember the story about the guy we did the video and he's in his kitchen talking about how he's too poor to afford food. And so he's just going to do MAID. Like that's the thing. We also did another story, Ryan. I don't know if you know this one either, of a military veteran or Special Olympics veteran, right? What was she? She was an Olympian or a vet, I forget. And she needed her quality of life was declining because she had some degenerative bone issue. And she asked her insurer for basically an acorn, like a thing that will take you up and down the stairs in your house. And instead, it was Veterans Affairs. The equivalent of Veterans Affairs offered her assisted suicide. That can't be that can't be even on the table. But the fact that it happens so often tells you that somewhere in the guidance, this is what's being suggested.
Right. And
you can't ignore that. You can't be ignored.
Who wants to stay here in their golden years, stick around and deal with this fucking bullshit? Get the fuck, go somewhere else, man. The world is huge and there's so much you could do. And not just that, there's living near salt water, living in the mountains. There's so many fucking things you could do to extend your life and thoroughly enjoy it. And you don't have to deal with all the bullshit that comes along here and then be offered up MAID. Those 33,000 new Canadians or new permanent residents, looks like that it's going to be the immigration minister.
Can we take a victory lap on this, by the way? We had Ben Rabideau on this show, and he and I got not into a spat, but we argued about what was going to happen with these people. And he said they were all going to be sent back. And I said, no fucking way. What's going to happen is they're going to be made somehow. They're going to be made part of the Canadian fabric and able to vote through some stupid fast track thing. You and me have talked about that. I talked about it on Tom and Nick's show a year or two ago. I talked about it with Ben. He was dead wrong on this.
So it's 33,000 foreign workers that are here. It's a soft launch that has been used as the language which they're doing, and they're going to be granting these permanent residents to 33,000 that are in specific fields in which they could be used to. Yeah. So that's being done. That's done. And we could move on to I guess one more quick story. Canada and in India, there's a new talent and innovation strategy.
What a disaster.
Trying to attract top-tier students and researchers from India to come to Canada. $25 million coming from the University of Toronto to fund over 220 scholarships for Indian students, along with an additional $10 million in Indo-Pacific scholarships from the federal government to boost their research exchange. And they'll be trying to get people to get into the artificial intelligence sector, clean energy sector, health and sciences, shit like that. And this also allows for students to begin. This is very interesting. Students will be able to begin their Canadian coursework in India before transitioning to Canada to finish their degrees. What could go wrong in this setup? Don't fucking even want to begin to talk about this.
The best thing is that the other part of the announcement was there's also opportunities for Canadians to go study in India. What kind of mental deficiency would you need to have to decide to go to university in India? What would have to happen? How dumb do you have to be?
I think it's a good time to transition to the Hamilton versus Brampton man segment.
you do the 256 read. I'm not doing it today. You do it.
You know what? One thing I can't hear.
You really want to leave it right there? No, are we really? We have an.
Do you want me to?
We have a research agreement with India. Okay, I can't help but notice.
This is doubling back.
Fucking guy, Modi or whatever his name is. Okay.
Yes.
Is constantly Modi talking about how all his talent needs to leave the country. He's talking about how his best people are stranded because of some travel issue.
The High Commission,
we got to set up another thing where we're sending our smartest people away.
The High Commissioner to Canada said they should bring in
60 million more. Like, why? I don't want. They're not your. Like, why are you? Do you think I'm so stupid?
Open it all, man.
We're gonna have to add a second show with 100 million Indians. We'll have to add a second show for Brampton versus Hamilton, man. We'll just do 45 minutes a week on Brampton man versus Hamilton man.
But I don't have enough.
You will if there's 100 million.
No,
for sure. For sure.
That humble Bronco story.
That guy should be executed. And the media should be ashamed because they're running interference for this guy. Oh, people want him deported. It would leave behind his wife and kid. What? Send them all back then. Why? The guy should either be in jail, death penalty, or deported. What other sympathies and forgivenesses and flexibility do I owe this guy as a Canadian?
If he were somehow
in a red light, in a semi truck, in clear conditions, killed 18 kids, and is fighting to leave, the lawyer representing him should be disbarred.
Last week, I almost got run off.
There's too much due process in this country.
I almost got run off the road last week by a semi-tractor trailer truck.
Who was driving? I
could not fucking see, but I could guess. And I had to go into the fucking shoulder to fucking avoid getting just smoked. This shit happens And you know, every time it happens, just more fuel to the fire.
Just another
getting ready to
flip flop
fucking
enjoyer
disappear.
driving around a fucking
And I get
$20,000,
tired.
20,000
But
ton truck.
if this guy was to be given the opportunity to assimilate back into society, who would employ him as a driver?
Yeah. What
Nobody.
neighborhood's living? Would you want him living in your neighborhood? You wouldn't. Like, this is
how could he earn a living? Like, who?
He can't. And so, like,
So
now he's going to stay in. You got to pay for
neighborhood?
it too. Yeah, you got to pay for it too. It's amazing. What a time to be alive. Let's bring in 60 million more. What's the worst that can happen? Things are going so well.
I'm for it, man. Just
well, like,
fucking bitch.
Things are going so well at a few million. Why stop there? Let's really go for that.
I agree. Bring in the best and the brightest.
And until we haven't done enough until Lake Ontario looks like the Ganges River. That's when we'll know that we have enough. Don't be afraid to laugh. These things are funny.
No, it's not laughing. I was just,
if you don't laugh, you'll cry, and we can't have you crying on the air.
I was just thinking of because I've been there. I've with my own two eyes, I've seen things that I don't even want to repeat right now because I'll be called certain names. Let's do the Hamilton versus Brampton segment, and I can't hear the miner running next to you, Joey.
It's running.
Is it running
256 heat. It's running.
Yeah,
it's going to be running right up here at some point. I got to put it up on the wall behind me here at some point.
It's heating your room.
I've been saying that for months. Yeah, but
you're collecting sats.
Yeah.
Look, if you are now, we're getting.
It also literally never shuts off. It's just like always on. It never has a problem. It just runs like a hog.
On your device, do you have the ability to throttle it depending on the time of day? Because I haven't done it on mine. I just leave
you can actually do it from your phone. There's Tuan will help you install the app and get everything set up. You can throttle it down anytime you want.
So that is cool. So you could heat your home. I know we're getting to the end of the heating your home segment, or sorry, time of the year, but it's going to get cold again in not too distant future, in 6 months from now, a little bit more. And so what you're going to do, well, you might as well use electricity to heat your home and collect some sats at the same time using one of these excellent heaters provided by 256 Heat. And check them out. Go on to 256heat.com. And if you do place an order, make sure you tell them that we sent you there. Tuan is an awesome dude. He knows his stuff. He will give you some excellent information on how to set it up. And you know what? You'll love it. You could have it next to you as you sleep, next to you where you work, or anything like that. You know, your wife's not going to get pissed off because it's too noisy.
It's a great device. It's a great device. Yeah.
Well, maybe a little too warm for some people. For me, it's never warm enough. Just crank that shit. And let's keep it warm. All right. Got two stories. Got the Hamilton man versus the Brampton man. And you have to decide which is the Hamilton man and which is the Brampton man. Let's see. So we got story number one. We have a Dolly Parton style wig wearer robbed somebody. So police has arrested a suspect in a robbery of a convenience store where the thief wore a Dolly Parton style wig. Dude is 61 years old, charged, and they responded to this convenience store that was obviously being robbed 3 o'clock in the morning. And police say they were provided information that the male was dressed as a female wearing a blonde wig and miniskirt.
Banger.
According to the police, the man used a sharp-edged weapon to threaten the lone employee to steal cigarettes. And there were no injuries from the incident. The guy was charged with robbery and disguise with intent. And according to police, surveillance video provided him assisted in the arrest. And that's number one. And number two, we have this landlord can't sleep at night after he says his tenants stopped paying rent and won't leave.
As his roommate now.
A tenant was told that a past landlord, tenant was told that this, she's making $120,000 a year. That's what she claimed, and so she became a tenant of this landlord. She said she was making $120,000 a year as an online content creator. That was her claim to having income to paying everything. Anyway, she's got to go in front of the landlord tenant board. So she's been accused of not paying her rent for at least a year. And this is the second time that the landlord was trying to evict her. The previous owner of the same place tried to evict her, but it didn't work. So they sold the home. New owner came in, decided to try to evict her, and it's still sticking there. So she refuses to leave or make any payments. But this is not the first time this person has done that. Apparently the homeowner says his health is affected. He can't sleep at night. It's a horrible experience. He's not going to get into renting anymore. Back in 2023, the same person rented a furnished 2-bedroom condo in downtown Toronto for $4,500. per month, and $30,000 worth of missing furniture, damage to. So didn't do reference checks, obviously.
Jeez.
So it's first in the scum bucket, but ended up landing in Brampton, not paying for a year. 2 landlords later, still sticking there. But you have the Dolly Parton robbing the store, the convenience store, and also this guy just squatting for a couple of years.
Well, you told me the second guy was a Brampton man. You just said it.
Did I?
Yeah.
Oh my bad. Oh, I did. Yes, it is a Brampton man. My bad.
I would have guessed that anyway. There's no way, because there's no way the Brampton man is cross-dressing to take some cigarettes. He's not cross-dressing to get a pack of Dumos from the convenience store.
Yeah, 61-year-old dude. Like,
yeah.
I
Tell me more about the tenant. Tell me more about the tenant. What's her deal? Her deal, I guess. Yeah.
She claimed that. She claimed that she was 4 months pregnant and not well mentally. So that's why she was not able to pay her rent. She said she lost her job, and just a real piece of $4,500 a rent. Oh, sorry, a month for rent for the first place, and this one. $23,000 in unpaid rent for the second.
That's great.
She said she was making $120,000 a year online. Doing what the fuck are you making? We could assume, but good for her. I guess she didn't really do a good job on that platform.
Yeah,
to be
I'm not gonna look and see.
I'm
not gonna look and see the content, but
I don't have a name. I have nothing. Actually, I probably do.
What's the name?
I don't know, just the picture. I'm gonna put it in the private chat.
I'll put it up. I'll put it
up.
The
landlord.
The landlord?
Yeah,
hell yeah! Absolute banger. You guys are gonna fucking love. If you
feel bad for the dude
for this, you guys are gonna love this shit. You can't sleep at night. Oh no! Oh no! No! Damn!
Raman Preet Singh, one of the 2 landlords. That
Do we know the name of the woman in question?
No. I don't think so.
No, we don't.
No, it's for.
She fucked up his utility box.
Yeah.
Wow.
For security reasons, they're not going to fucking release this information.
This
is a recent story too, February of this year.
Yeah, it's great. I love that. Hey,
there's a bunch of recent stories, but they're high profile. And everybody probably heard of them, and I can't use them. That's the fucking problem. The stories that are just fantastic, like the bus guy. Remember the guy that stole the bus?
Yeah,
and was still making stops.
That was great.
That's a beautiful story. Another good one. The guy that set up guessing Gage Park. I don't know which park. He had a whole system, electricity running.
That was Gage Park. Yeah, that was Gage Park.
See, that's another beautiful story, but it's well known, and I can't fucking use it.
That was a good one too.
That is a great story.
Yeah.
I mean, for the unsuspecting, they'd be like, "What the fuck is going on here?" They got fucking water.
Oh god!
Mining for Bitcoin probably at the same time.
Classic. Let's get out of here. Great. Thanks for hanging out. Thanks for commenting. Thanks for watching. Like the video, subscribe, all that good stuff. I'm not going to bug you again. Francis interview coming soon. We'll see you guys next time.
You should give him a Hamilton versus Brampton.
I will not.
I'll give you the 2 stories, and you can just fucking rhyme it off to him and
save him for the Christmas special this year. We're only 9 months away.
Fuck, we're already thinking about that.
I know.
All right. Anyways, good show. Take care.
See you, everybody.